Even the bravest hearts may quail when the horrors of battle take their toll. In the morale phase, both players test to see if their warriors are brave enough to stay in the fight when the going gets tough. The morale phase is split into two steps: making morale tests and checking unit coherency. In the morale phase, every unit that has had one or more models destroyed during the turn must take a morale test. Starting with the player whose turn is taking place, both players alternate selecting a unit from their army which had models destroyed this turn. That unit then takes a morale test. If one player has no more units left needing morale tests, their opponent continues taking morale tests for their remaining units one at a time. To take a morale test, roll a d6 and add the number of models from the unit that were destroyed this turn. If the result is equal to or lower than the highest leadership characteristic in the unit, the morale test is passed and nothing else happens. An unmodified roll of a 1 is always a pass, regardless of the total result. If the result exceeds the unit's highest leadership characteristic, the morale test is failed, and one model flees the unit. The player making the test decides which model flees. It is removed from play and counts as having been destroyed. The remaining models must then take combat attrition tests. To take a combat attrition test, roll a d6 for each remaining model in the unit. Then, subtract 1 from each roll if the unit is below half its starting model count. For each result of a 1, another model flees. The controlling player chooses which models to remove, and they count as destroyed. So, to recap, this unit of 10 Necron warriors lost 6 models to shooting, then 1 model for failing its morale test, and a further 2 models from combat attrition, leaving only 1 Necron warrior in the unit. Unit coherency checks. Remember how we've mentioned throughout these videos that it's important to keep the models within your units in unit coherency? Well, sometimes the effects of psychic powers, shooting, close combat, and the morale phase can cause units to lose coherency. And that's bad news. This brings us to the second step of the morale phase. After all morale tests have been made, each player now checks to see if their units have maintained unit coherency. Any models that have become separated from the unit are removed one at a time, until only a single group of models from that unit remains in play. The removed models count as having been destroyed. As you can imagine, this can be quite devastating for your force, so always be careful when you're allocating attacks to your models. Finally, as you play more games of Warhammer 40,000 and your army expands, you may end up with some special rules that trigger when a particular model is destroyed. It is important to note that models removed from the battlefield because of morale tests, combat attrition, or unit coherency checks do not trigger these special rules. Once these steps are completed, the player's turn is over. If their opponent hasn't had their turn yet, they now begin with their own command phase. If they have, the battle round is over and a new battle round begins. You've now learned the basics of how to play Warhammer 40,000. A galaxy of warfare awaits.